Hey everybody, welcome to an episode of Hop on Pop Culture. I'm Matt. Thanks for tuning in. So today I'm going to do something a little bit different than what I've done in the past. You've definitely seen me do some unboxing videos, which I'm going to continue to do because I love doing them. I love just getting to share that moment of opening up something new and looking at it and going, oh my God, this is so cool, with you guys. So I'll certainly continue to do that. But this is another thing on this channel I wanted to sort of get into. After all, the name is Hop on Pop Culture, meaning pop culture kind of extends beyond the toys. So one avenue of pop culture that I love personally is comic books. It's something that I've been into for several years. In fact, when I was 15, so nearly 15 years ago, 16 years ago, it's kind of what jump-started me into comics. So I've always enjoyed superheroes. I remember Justice League Unlimited, enjoying that as a kid, and the Spider-Man TV show as a kid, and same thing with the X-Men and so on and so forth. But when I was 15, I was a sophomore in high school, and one of my teachers, he was an avid comic book collector, and I told him how I was sort of interested, and I asked, hey, if you have any Green Lantern issues, could I borrow them and read some? And he's like, well, I don't really collect Green Lantern, but I might have some, and if I do, I'll bring them in. I said, awesome. So he brought, the next day or the day after, 2 days after, something like that, he brought about 6 or 7 issues in. And I don't remember the exact numbers. I know it was like, I think it was like 48, 49, 50, 51, and 52, so maybe 5. But it was definitely around the issue 50 of the 1990 Green Lantern series. This was the issue that introduced Parallax as like this evil entity that had taken over and corrupted Hal Jordan and kind of drove him crazy. So if you know what I'm talking about, it's a great story arc. Go read it. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go read it. But so that kind of got me hooked. So the next day, or when I finished the next day, I took them back. I said, well, here's your comics. Thanks so much for letting me borrow them. And he said, well, why don't you just keep them? I was like, really? And he's like, yeah, I'm not going to read them. I haven't read them in years. You can just have them. I was like, oh, that's awesome. So thank you. And if he's ever watches this or ever sees this, thank you so much, because you kicked off a lifetime collector of comics. So just wanted to share that story before I dove in, because that was what impacted me into collecting. So because of that, my brother and I, we went on to our computer at home, our desktop, because we didn't have laptops back then, or not many people had laptops back then. Our house didn't, and we Googled, comic book stores near me, and it wasn't like Googling today, comic book stores near me, and it'll actually choose your location and give you the closest ones. We had to type in cities near us and try to find them. So it was very interesting. But we did find one. It was about 40 minutes away, and we went there, and I remembered getting Batman Cacophony as one of my first miniseries, and I believe that was written by Kevin Smith, who you might know as director of Jay and Silent Bob and Clerks and all those films. Great director, awesome guy. Check out his Comic Book Men TV show. Another reason why I wanted to kind of do something with comics, because I love that show, but I digress. So Chris and I, we got a couple of miniseries, so I thought it was pretty fitting that I bring or the first comic review that I do is a 6-issue limited series or miniseries, more or less the same thing, right? So let's dive in. As you can see, we're going to talk today about Jurassic League, which is a 6-issue limited series that was put out in May, written by Juan Gideon and Daniel Warren Johnson, co-writers, and I believe Gideon was also the primary artist on all 6 of these issues. There's a few other names, so shout out to Spicer and Mikkel and all the other cover artist variants. I want to give them shout outs, because when it comes to comic books, a lot of times we see the beautiful pictures and and read the awesome stories, and we forget that there's so many people involved. You've got your colorer, your inker, your writer, your author. Those are the same. Your artist is what I meant to say. So all these different puzzle pieces coming together. So shout out to them. But yeah, I wanted to dive in with the limited series, mini series, because that's what got me hooked. So if you're looking for something to read and you're interested in dinosaurs and you're interested in DC characters, Jurassic League is awesome. So I'll show you guys the first issue right here, which is issue number 1, that has the Superman character right here, whose name was Super Sore, and then we've got the Batman character down here, whose name was Batsor, and then we've got Wonder Dawn, which is the Wonder Woman character. So this book, this miniseries, focuses primarily on those three characters, and that makes sense, right? Because DC's holy trinity of characters are those three. So definitely, if you're going to explore an alternate world, that's the avenue to go to. But you do get to see a lot of cool characters that had that that dinosaur makeover. So one of the things that drew my eye to this comic is that it's an alternate reality type of world, right? It's set on like Earth 27 or something like that. So super cool concept. I'm a sucker for any of those like imagine ifs or what ifs or Elseworld or those non-canonical type of stories. So definitely check this one out. You get to see like Bizarro, which is like Brontozaro, I believe his name was. And I apologize if I botched these names. I read this a couple weeks ago. I meant to do the video sooner. Went on vacation, just sort of ran out of time. Probably one of my favorite things about this issue is actually this character right here. So this is issue number 4's cover. But that character right there is the Green Torch. And as you can imagine, that's the Green Lantern's alternate version on this world. And the fact that he was, I can even turn upside down, you can see him better, but he was a duck-billed dinosaur, which is my personal favorite dinosaur, and I think that dates back to the Land Before Time days. So all you 90s babies, shout out to Land Before Time, probably one of the first movies that truly broke our hearts. On this cover, you get to see the Joker and the Flash's character. So this is Flash Raptor, and this is Jokerzard, I believe were those names. So really cool to see them sort of name bend between like the typical DC character name and try to give it like that dinosaur prehistoric flair of those sort of names that we see all the time. So that I enjoyed a lot. Of course, just the idea of superheroes that are also dinosaurs just seems really cool and fun to me. So I'm glad I read it because it is a pretty solid and a good choice. So now that I sort of introduced the characters and things, I guess I'll give you my opinion that you didn't ask for. Overall, I would give this story like a 3.5 out of 5, maybe even a 4 out of 5. And the reason being it's not a 5 out of 5 is one, I think that really I want to try to keep that as like something that I truly felt was perfect, something I truly felt was a really great story and was told the right way and done just super well. So unfortunately, like that 5 out of 5 is gonna be off the table, but I would say 3.5 out of 4 is or 4 out of 5 is a fair assessment. It was a super fun read. If you're looking for something that's just cool and sort of, as my buddy Paul likes to say, like brain candy, just something to really just read and enjoy, this is the series for you. If you're like, I just want to mess around with a quick mini series, again, this is like the perfect thing for that. And I think honestly, my biggest issue with this particular series isn't probably even the fault of the writers or anything like that. It was probably a little bit higher up, and they were probably only greenlit for 6 issues versus 8 or 10, right? I feel like if you had the option to tell this over a few more issues, some of my gripes about it would be resolved. So, like, a perfect example, one of my biggest things is that I felt like it was rushed, right? And again, you have more issues to tell the story. You don't have that rushed feeling. So example of that is when we're getting to the big bad at the end and we're going to fight the big bad, you obviously have to assemble this Justice League of Jurassic characters, right? So this Jurassic League, and the Batman character is doing his thing, and the Superman character is trying to get the Batman character to do the thing with him. And then they finally meet at the end, and he's also like, hey, I also found these guys. And it was like the Aquaman character, which I don't think was on any of these covers, unfortunately. But the Aquaman character, which I think was Aquanix, the Green Lantern character, and the Flash character, they're just like, oh, yeah, I found these guys on the way, and they're here to help us. And it's like we didn't get to see that interaction with the Superman character and the other guy. So I think it would have been really cool and fun. And actually, now that I'm thinking back, I don't think it was the Aquaman character. I think he was involved in a different way, but it was definitely the Flash and Green Lantern character that he's like, yeah, I just found them. They're here. And I was like, ooh. Like you could have, like that's like one more issue and you could have shown that, 2 more issues and you could have made it really molded and strong. So I'm thinking 8 issues would have been perfect, if not even more, to really build this world. Because again, you invited us into this new Earth where our superheroes are dinosaur-like creatures, and me being a selfish fan, I just want to see more of it. So hopefully these guys aren't done making this, talking about this world. The vision here isn't done. I'm hoping they'll be back. I probably should have done some quick research since I am reading this about a year late. If they plan on doing a second Jurassic League or a follow-up, because sometimes these limited series or these miniseries, they hit big and then they turn them into a real series, like an ongoing series. So I'm not sure if that's the case. So if you guys know, please let me know in the comments, because I'd love to read through them. But again, my biggest issue is just the rushness that I felt, and it isn't necessarily the writer's fault, because I know that there's a lot that goes into making comics, and it could have just been a decision at the top saying this is a cool concept, but we can only give you 6 issues, right? So don't know where that led and how that went, but I just feel like 6 issues were not quite enough to tell this entire story. But the story itself was fun. It was engaging, super enjoyable. And again, I was spoiled because my favorite superhero was also my favorite dinosaur. So that was pretty cool. But like the final word here is go ahead and get the 6 comics or get the graphic novel. I'd imagine it's out by now. And again, I should have looked into that. But read it. It's a good read. It's a fun read. You're not wasting your time. If you like dinosaurs, you like DC characters, you're going to love this book. Check it out. Let me know what other series you guys like down below. Maybe I can give those a read or do a review on those next. But in the meantime, I'm just going to try to work through some of my current stuff. I'm going to have one on the Dark Knights of Steel coming out soon. I'm going to probably read The Last Ronin pretty soon. So just let me know what you guys want to hear and what kind of reviews you guys want. And help me name this segment. I don't know if I already mentioned this, but I don't know, like we call it like the comic corner, but that seems a little cheesy and a little too head on. So if you got a better name for it, let me know what you guys would like this segment to be called. But thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Matt on Hop on Pop Culture. Go ahead and click that subscribe, the like button if you guys enjoyed the video. Also, you could check out Hop on Pop Culture on Spotify, where I put together podcasts and chat with my friends about some kind of generic and current topics like movies and like broad movies and specific movies like Avatar 2 and things like that. I try to drop an episode every month. You can also check me out on Off Card Collectors. Is another YouTube channel. It should be linked into my page, but it's another channel that I'm a part of where me and my buddy James, we go ahead and we talk about the toys and the collectibles that we find throughout our ventures and our trips. So thank you so much for tuning in. I'll try to make these ones shorter next time, but thank you for sticking around. You guys have a great day. I'll see you next time.